Hi everyone, and welcome to Neverland. Today you got Pixie. Our camera little focus. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, today is DID Awareness Day, so we're going to do a video briefly about trauma in DID because it's kind of an important deal. I'm going to read from the DSM right over my screen right here because DID is a trauma disorder. Matter of fact, it says under development course that dissociative identity disorders associated with overwhelming experiences, traumatic events, and/or abuse in childhood. And it goes on saying, how things, children may not necessarily show those signs, or the really radical signs. Mostly says covert. We can talk about overt and coverts in a later few episode, but for now, just know that DID itself always starts from trauma. One of the big questions is how much, what really constitutes trauma, and what is enough trauma for any given person to develop this. Because we've talked about in previous episodes and previous talks, I think our very first super long one Zor had, we talked about how it's 1 to 3% of the population and how trauma causes these things to happen. You're like, well, what terrible thing has to happen to you? In general, there is no set amount. And psychologists talk about what they call a window of tolerance. This is sort of how much you can handle. Just like a person can go through two totally different scenarios and come out different, two people could suffer the same incident and not have the same reaction to it. Sorry, I'm trying to get my camera. This is my first video. Sorry, guys. I know it's a little rough. So what this means is what one person goes through without any problems, another person can have a super traumatic reaction to. Looks like a car accident where someone is seriously injured or dies. Somebody can walk through this kind of situation, have this happen to them, and come out of it okay, where another person can go through the exact same sort of thing and have really, really bad nightmares and trauma-related incidents and PTSD stuff from it. The same thing is true for this. Now, with DID, it's kind of special in that it happens to happen early, but what can count as trauma very much depends on the person. It could be things like moving constantly, never feeling settled, or having something happen. Abuse is certainly one of the options. It's probably one of the more common ones, but it's not necessarily the only thing. And it's not always the single required. There's no one required trigger for what I'm trying to get out. You can get a lot of things that can cause the same problems for people. Another thing on that note is, how do you compare it to other people? Because we see this a lot. Well, so-and-so did this and they're okay. Well, yeah, so-and-so may have gone through that. They may have gone through much worse than you. That doesn't invalidate the fact that it was traumatic for you. Never, ever compare what you went through to somebody else. Because something that you survived that was really, really hard and traumatic for you is entirely irrelevant to anybody else's life. Somebody else could have gone through the same situation or something, arguably, objectively, if you can call it that. They could have gone through something totally worse. But that doesn't mean what you went through and how you reacted to it is invalid. It's not. And the fact that you're having to ask those questions, hey, was this really bad enough for these symptoms? The fact that the symptoms exist, say, yes, it was. I mean, maybe you just moved 15 times in a year and you never felt settled as a kid. Maybe that was the trauma for you. That doesn't mean you're weak. Doesn't mean you're, anything less about you. It doesn't mean you're not, mentally strong. It doesn't mean that what happened to you wasn't severe to you. It doesn't mean anything other than it was bad enough for you that your mind found a way to cope with it, and it needed to. And yes, by the way, that it is a necessity thing. We don't have this happen by choice. At least not for DID trauma people. We don't choose that. And we'll get to the nuance of that later because there's a whole big thing online about that. And I want to tell you what our system position is on that. But when it comes to DID, yes, we are born from trauma. We do have something happen, whether or not it's intentional, whether or not it's severe enough to somebody else, whatever it was, our brains is hey, we can't cope with this on our own. We need to just kind of seal this little piece away for a while. And since it happens during that development forming time of our lives, those little pieces kind of sit back and we develop into our own person. And instead of everything kind of coming together to make one whole person, they kind of do this and stay apart. And all of us develop it on our own. And that's how you get people like me, you get Zor, you get Kitten, Caleb, Angel. That's how you get all of us. That's how that works. And we've talked about that before, but the trauma causing that is always the root of that for DID. We talked about the window of tolerance here. I mentioned briefly, this is going to be kind of a short video because I don't want to be in here long. I'm a little uncomfortable with this. I've never done this before, so I'm a little uncomfortable. So I'm not going to make this a long video, maybe 10 minutes. We're at 5 already, so yeah. There's a whole system thing out there. If you watch the DID community, you'll notice, or the multiple community, the plural community, there's a whole debate about endogenic and traumagenic and the difference between them and whether or not they should be the same, blah, blah, blah. And here's like the nutshell thing about ours. Endogenic means it comes from something other than trauma. How that forms, I don't know. We weren't formed that way, so we don't know. We have DID. We've been diagnosed that way. That's what we've been treated as. And we have things that we know about, whatever. So I don't understand the endogenic thing, but how do you know it's fake? You don't. You know who knows? The people that know it and live with it, and the professionals that they deal with. That is only their decision to make. When it comes to us, we are simply going to assume and believe that people, because believe me, this is like super hard life. It is not easy to live with this. It is really difficult. And like have this in and out thing constantly, never know where you're going to be constantly or when you're going to be out, and like find yourself doing things you didn't expect, or trying to play catch up, or trying to just simply play along like you know what's happening around you when you don't. That is like super hard. That would be a really, really hard thing to pretend about, because it's like super hard to live with it for real. So it's not our place. It's not anyone's place to fake claim. And if you are out there doing that, stop, please. Please stop, because you're doing more harm than good. I mean, are there people that fake it? Probably. Almost certainly, because people like fake everything. Maybe people fake cancer, for crying out loud. But the people who are very, very, very tiny amount of people compared to the people who really have this. Now, we don't say people with endogenics have DID specifically, mostly because DID, per the definition, specifically mentions trauma as a cause. That is not saying their plurality, their multiplicity is not valid. That's just simply not true. We believe that it can be. We're not special that way. There's nothing, too particular about that. But just because we have some similarity in how that works, and they may be very similar in how they function because of it, but the root cause is different. So we believe that there has to be some shared spaces. I mean, we all are multiple, we all are plural. But there also needs to be unique spaces too. People who don't have trauma don't belong in a trauma space. In groups that are specific to the trauma side of it, that needs to be clear and clean for just them, because they have shared experience, and they need to have that kind of safe environment. And having people who don't understand that and who try to force their way in feels really invalidating. It feels really insecure to them. Just like you wouldn't want people who survive war, for example, in a sexual assault trauma group. Yeah, they both have trauma, but it's totally different things. So yeah, they should have similar groups for trauma. They both have trauma, and they have similarities, and they function similarly on that. But they also need their individual spaces for their specific thing, and that's how we kind of feel with the endogenic. Yeah, we're trauma. They're not, but we're all multiple. We can all be one community, and we shall support each other and be strong for each other. And we need to be there for each other. But we also need to respect that each other are different too. So that's kind of like where we fall on that. And yeah, this is like a super short video, mostly because like today's DID Awareness Day. We wanted to raise awareness about what DID is, what the difference in different system types are. And like I said before, if it caused enough reaction, it's enough trauma. If you went through something that wasn't traumatic and you became multiple, what you went through was enough. Whatever it was that caused that for endogenics, that's enough. Don't let people invalidate you, whether you're trauma or not. If you had whatever you went through caused this sort of situation in your life, be okay with that. It's like a huge first step to healing. You kind of like have to take that step and accept it, and accept who you are, not individually, but also whole, and who all your individuals are, before you can ever start like coming to terms with each other. And you know what? We love all of you. For those who have DID like us, today is a day to raise awareness. We hope that we can kind of raise voices and fight some of the negative stuff out there. I mean, there's lots of negative stuff out there. Split was a terrible example. Moonlight looks like it might be, because they're talking about how he's unstable because he has DID and he's violent. And we hope they lean into other aspects of it better than that. But let's face it, that's what we have to contend with. That's why days like this, awareness days, are so important to us. Why we need to explain that it's trauma caused. We didn't choose this. In endogenics, they don't choose it either. It happens, from what I understand, from talking to several systems online. They don't choose it either. It just sort of happens from things that happen to them. It's not trauma, like us, but it's outside their control, and they have to live with it the way we do. It doesn't make anyone monsters. It doesn't make anyone dangerous. It just means that we found a way to survive and a way to thrive that is different than the standard method. And we develop differently. And that's okay. We all need to be proud of that. We all need to learn to thrive. And we need to learn to understand and tolerate each other, both in the community and from those outside. We need to be able to reach out to the outside of the community. We need to tell people, hey, I'm not that different than you. Yeah, I may have different personalities, but it doesn't make us a monster. It doesn't mean you should shun us. It doesn't mean you should treat us badly. We don't deserve that. And in the case of DID, we're this way because people treated us badly in some way, or because we had something happen to us that was very negative in some way. And we really, really don't need that kind of thing. That's only going to make it worse. So I think I'm going to end this here, but I just wanted to kind of like reach out and say, if you are a system or you think you might be, try to find someone to help you. Preferably a professional, because they're like absolutely the most qualified, but we know that's really hard too. And especially, some people's situations, that kind of care isn't covered, and we hope and pray the best for you that you can find something. But if not, find somebody who knows. Find find a lot of the DID or system community out there. Find somebody who will help you understand what you're going through. And if you do know you have multiple personalities, you're multiple or plural, reach out to people, connect. It's a very isolating thing. We totally suffer from it too. We totally get it. And there's a lot of people out there that care. There's a lot of great information out there. There's a lot of great people to point to, hey, you don't know what's going on with me. Talk to this person or see this video, or and there's things other than the Hollywood trope out there. Help raise awareness in a good way. And if you know someone that has it, be a good friend, be a good ally. Help combat disinformation. If you know someone who has something like this, or even if you don't, even better if you don't, share videos like ours. Share videos like Multiplicity and Me, Entropy System, some of our favorites. Go out there and share these voices. Show them to other people. Let other people know, hey, this exists. It's not something to be scared of. It's nothing bad. And spread love. Be kind to people. So I'm going to close on that because I don't know what else to say. I've kind of covered the few bullet points we had. And we've got a whole page of notes for our channel. I know it's been a long time, but we have a lot of stuff we're thinking about and we want to talk about. So I'm hoping here, maybe in a couple of weeks, maybe a month, Zora will come out and do another video for us. And we can kind of move forward again because it's been a long time. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you so much, everyone, for who's waited with us, who's watched these videos. And our friends, oh God, so many of you are so important to us. You are literally lifesavers and you don't even know it. And we hope that all systems can find people like that we found. And we hope that all of you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And that those systems like us, be proud of who you are. Hope you don't have to hide it. And for those who are covert, we hope that you have a very peaceful and safe day. And we hope that maybe those of us who are becoming more overt or are overt can be somewhat helpful to you. Maybe giving you strength and inspiration that, hey, it's okay. And hopefully that we can spread the word to other people and make the world a better place, for those struggling with mental health, because that is just as important as physical health, and it needs to be addressed and it needs to be made public and something that we all be aware of and conscious of. Anyway, I'm going to close on that, so thank you for joining us, and thank you for watching my video, and I hope I wasn't too distracted for you. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.